Most Audi owners think regular oil changes are enough to keep their car running forever. They're wrong. There are critical maintenance secrets that separate Audis lasting 100,000 miles from those pushing past 300,000. I'm Marcus, and I've been rebuilding Audi engines for 22 years. Today, I'm sharing 14 maintenance secrets that most dealers will never tell you. Some will save you thousands in repairs. Others will prevent catastrophic failures that leave you stranded on the highway. Stick around to number 6. It's the single fluid most technicians forget that destroys your transmission in under 50,000 miles. Let's get into it. Number 1. The carbon cleaning schedule nobody follows. If you own any Audi with direct injection, which is basically every 2, 0T, 3, 0T, or V6 from 2009 forward, carbon buildup on your intake valves is inevitable. Not maybe. Inevitable. Direct injection sprays fuel directly into the combustion chamber, completely bypassing the intake valves. On older port injection engines, fuel washed over the valves, keeping them clean. Now, nothing cleans them. Oil vapor from the PCV system bakes onto the valve backs. After 40,000 to 60,000 miles, you've got rock-hard carbon deposits choking airflow. Symptoms start subtle. Rough cold starts. Slight hesitation at 2,000 revolutions per minute. Check engine light for misfires. By 80,000 miles, you're losing 15 to 20% power and burning a quart of oil every 1,000 miles. Here's what dealers won't tell you. You need walnut blasting every 40,000 to 50,000 miles, period. Walnut shell media blasts carbon off the valves without damaging them. Dealers charge $600 to $800. Independent Euro shops charge $350 to $500. Skip it, and you're looking at burnt valves, failed ignition coils, and eventually a full top-end rebuild. I've seen A4S with 90,000 miles need $4,000 in engine work because the owner ignored carbon cleaning. The valves were so caked, the engine was barely running on all cylinders. Don't use fuel additives or Italian tune-ups as substitutes. They don't work. The carbon is too hard and too thick. Only physical removal works. Schedule walnut blasting at 45,000, 90,000, 135,000 miles. Keep receipts. When you sell the car, proving carbon service adds $1,500 to $2,000 to resale value. Number 2. The DSG service interval that prevents $5,000 failures. If your Audi has a DSG dual-clutch transmission, you've got a service interval that's criminally underemphasized. Audi says DSG fluid is lifetime. That's marketing, not engineering reality. DSG transmissions run 2 wet clutches submerged in fluid. That fluid degrades from heat, friction material, and metal particles. By 40,000 miles, it's contaminated. By 60,000, it's breaking down. Continue driving and the clutches start slipping. Mechatronic unit fails, and you're facing a $5,000 to $7,000 transmission replacement. I service DSG transmissions every 35,000 to 40,000 miles. Costs $350 to $450 for fluid and filter. Prevents catastrophic failure every single time. The service involves draining old fluid, replacing the internal filter, filling with fresh VW G052182A2 spec fluid, and running an adaptation reset. You'll feel the difference immediately. Shifts are crisper, smoother, faster. Hesitation disappears. I've rebuilt DSGs that were never serviced. At 70,000 miles, the clutch packs looked like burnt toast. The mechatronic valve body is full of metal shavings. The fluid looks like used motor oil. Total failure was weeks away. Here's the test. If your DSG hesitates going into reverse, shudders at low speed, or clunks shifting from first to second, your fluid is cooked. Get it serviced immediately. Don't wait for the check engine light. By then, internal damage is already done. For S-tronic transmissions in newer Audis, same rule applies. Service every 40,000 miles regardless of what the manual says. Number 3. The PCV system that kills engines silently. This is the most overlooked maintenance item on every 2.0T engine. The positive crankcase ventilation system recirculates oil vapor back into the intake. When it fails, which it does around 60,000 to 80,000 miles, it creates a cascade of problems. Failed PCV causes excessive crankcase pressure. That pressure forces oil past piston rings, past valve seals, and out every gasket. You start burning oil. 1 quart every 500 miles. 2 quarts every 1,000 miles. Audi's technical service bulletin allows up to 1 quart per 1,000 miles as normal. That's insane. A healthy engine burns maybe a quart every 5,000 to 7,000 miles. If you're adding oil constantly, check your PCV valve first. On 2. 0T engines. The PCV valve is integrated into the valve cover. Replacement costs $400 to $600. At a shop, ignore it and you'll blow the rear main seal, turbo seals, and front crankshaft seal from excessive pressure. I've seen owners spend $2,500 chasing oil leaks when the real problem was a $150 PCV valve. Symptoms of PCV failure are oil consumption, oil around the dipstick, blue smoke on startup, rough idle, and whistling noise from the engine. Test it yourself. Remove the oil cap while the engine is idling. If you feel strong suction or the engine stalls, your PCV is clogged or failed. Replace the valve cover assembly with an updated revision. Audi has revised the PCV design 3 times. The latest version lasts much longer. Ask your shop for the newest part number revision.
Number 4, the timing chain tensioner inspection that prevents engine grenades. If you own an Audi with a 2.0T or 3.0T engine built between 2008 and 2013, listen carefully. These engines have a known timing chain tensioner issue. The tensioner uses oil pressure to keep tension on the timing chain. When it fails, the chain goes slack, jumps timing, and the pistons collide with the valves. Engine is destroyed in milliseconds. Total loss, $8,000 to $12,000 for a replacement engine. Early warning signs are faint rattling on cold starts that disappears after 2 to 3 seconds. That's the chain slapping before oil pressure builds. If you hear it, you've got maybe 10,000 miles before catastrophic failure. The fix is replacing the timing chain, tensioner, and guides. Costs $1,800 to $2,500. Expensive, but nothing compared to a new engine. Here's what I tell every customer with these engines. At 80,000 to 100,000 miles, inspect the timing components, even if you hear no noise. The tensioner wears internally. By the time you hear rattling, you're on borrowed time. Use 5W40 full synthetic oil in these engines. Thicker oil at operating temperature helps maintain tensioner pressure. Avoid 0W20 or 5W30. Too thin for the high-pressure fuel pump and tensioner system. I've personally seen 3 engines grenade from timing chain failure. All 3 owners ignored the cold start rattle. All 3 needed complete engine replacements. One was an S4 with only 72,000 miles. Owner lost $11,000 because he didn't spend $2,000 on preventative work. Number 5, the brake fluid flush that saves your ABS module. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture from the air. After 2 years, it's saturated. After 3 years, its boiling point drops from 400 degrees to under 300 degrees. Why does this matter? When you brake hard, especially downhill or in mountains, brake fluid heats up. Contaminated fluid boils, creating vapor bubbles. Vapor compresses. Your brake pedal goes soft or straight to the floor. Total brake failure. But here's the hidden cost. Moisture in brake fluid corrodes the ABS module internals. The module has tiny solenoid valves that rust and seize. ABS module replacement costs $1,200 to $1,800, all because you skipped $120 brake fluid flushes. Flush brake fluid every 2 years, not 3, not 4, every 2 years regardless of mileage. Use only DOT4 low viscosity fluid VW G052133 spec. When flushing, bleed until fluid runs clear from each caliper. Old fluid is dark brown or black. New fluid is light golden. You should also flush any time you replace brake pads. Opening the system introduces air and contaminants. I've replaced dozens of ABS modules on Audis that were never serviced. Open them up, and the internals are orange with rust. The solenoids are frozen. Could have been prevented with $120 flushes every 24 months. If your ABS or ESP light comes on randomly, especially in wet weather, your module is corroding from moisture. Get the fluid flushed immediately. You might save it before permanent damage occurs. Number 6, the hull deck service that no one remembers. If you own a Quattro Audi with a transverse engine, meaning A3, S3, Q3, Q5, TT, or any front-wheel drive-based platform, your all-wheel drive system uses a Haldex coupling, not a traditional Quattro differential. The Haldex unit requires its own dedicated fluid and filter service. Audi's official interval is 20,000 miles. In reality, almost nobody does it. I'd estimate 90% of Haldex-equipped Audis on the road have never had the service. The result? By 60,000 to 80,000 miles, the Haldex pump fails. All-wheel drive stops working. You're driving a front-wheel drive Audi. Replacement cost? $2,500 to $3,500 for a new Haldex unit. The service costs $200 to $300, fluid, filter, and a pump reset. That's it. Skipping a $250 service leads to a $3,000 repair. I've done the math on customer cars. It's the single best return on investment for maintenance. Change Haldex fluid every 20,000 miles. Use only genuine Haldex fluid. Aftermarket fluid causes clutch pack slip and premature wear. Symptoms of a failing Haldex are loss of power in snow, traction control light, ABS light, and poor acceleration from a stop. By the time you notice symptoms, damage is often done. Prevention is everything. When you service it, make sure the shop runs the Haldex self-test procedure. It cycles the pump and confirms operation. Without the test, you're just changing fluid and hoping. Number 7. The coolant system pressure test that finds hidden leaks. Audi's 2.0T and 3.0 supercharged engines run extremely high coolant pressure, 18 to 22 psi at operating temperature. That pressure stresses every hose, clamp, and seal in the system. Small leaks are invisible until they become catastrophic. Here's the problem. A pinhole leak in a coolant hose releases steam, not liquid. You'll never see a puddle, but you're losing coolant constantly. Run low on coolant and your engine overheats. Overheating warps the cylinder head. Warped head means head gasket failure. Head gasket failure means $3,500 to $4,500 in repairs. The prevention is simple. Pressure test the coolant system every 30,000 miles. The test costs $80 to $120. The shop pressurizes the system to 15 psi and watches for pressure drop. If pressure holds, you're good. If it drops, they trace the leak before it becomes a problem. Common leak points are the thermostat housing, coolant flange on the back of the cylinder head, upper radiator hose, and heater core hoses under the intake manifold. These hoses are plastic. They become brittle after 60,000 to 80,000 miles. Replace them before they burst. I've seen cars towed in with steam pouring from the engine bay. Lower radiator hose let go on the highway. Engine overheated in seconds. Cylinder head warped. $4,200 repair. All preventable with a $100 pressure test and $150 in hoses. If you're adding coolant more than once a year, you have a leak. Find it now. Keep your Audi cool and your wallet full. Number 9. The transmission mount replacement that saves your drivetrain. Most people ignore motor mounts and transmission mounts until they're completely destroyed. Bad move. Failed mounts create driveline shock that damages CV axles, subframe bushings, and transmission internals. On Audis with transverse engines, the upper transmission mount, also called the dog bone mount, absorbs tremendous torque. After 60,000 to 80,000 miles, the rubber tears. You'll feel clunking when shifting, vibration at idle, and harsh engagement going into gear. If the mount completely fails, the engine rocks forward under throttle. The transmission shifts violently. CV axles bend. The passenger side axle is especially vulnerable. A bent CV axle costs $400 to replace. A transmission mount costs $150. Seems obvious which one to fix first. Replace the dog bone mount every 70,000 to 80,000 miles. Replace the lower mounts at the same time if they're original. Total cost is $500 to $700 in parts and labor. Cheap insurance against drivetrain damage. When replacing mounts, upgrade to polyurethane if you drive spiritedly. They last twice as long and reduce wheel hop during hard launches. I've pulled subframes on cars with failed mounts. The damage is shocking. Bent axles, cracked subframe bushings, torn transmission seals. All traced back to mounts that should have been replaced 30,000 miles earlier. If your car clunks going into reverse or jerks when you release the brake, check your mounts today. Number 10. The fuel system cleaning that restores lost power. High-pressure fuel systems in direct injection engines are incredibly sensitive to fuel quality. Bad gas, low-octane fuel, or contaminated fuel clogs the high-pressure fuel pump and injectors. You'll notice rough idle, loss of power above 4,000 RPM, and poor fuel economy. Most people throw parts at the problem. New coils, new plugs, new air filter. Nothing fixes it because the real issue is fuel delivery. The high-pressure fuel pump on 2.0T and 3.0T engines runs at 2,000 to 2,500 psi. Any debris in the fuel scores the pump internals. The pump loses pressure. Injectors don't atomize fuel properly. You get incomplete combustion and carbon buildup. Here's the fix. Run a professional fuel system cleaning service every 30,000 miles. Not a bottle of Techron from AutoZone. A real service using BG44K or Liqui Moly injection cleaner run through a pressurized tool. Cost is $150 to $250. The chemicals dissolve deposits in the injectors and combustion chambers. Combined with an Italian tune-up, a hard 20-minute highway run at 4,000 to 5,000 RPM, you'll blow out carbon and restore lost power. I've done back-to-back dyno tests. Cars gain 10 to 15 horsepower after a proper fuel cleaning. Throttle response improves dramatically. Also, only use top-tier gasoline. Brands like Shell, Chevron, Mobil, BP, they have detergent packages that keep injectors clean. Cheap gas from no-name stations will clog your system in under 20,000 miles. If you're losing power and the check engine light shows fuel trim codes, get a fuel system service before replacing the high-pressure pump. You'll save $800. Number 11, the differential fluid that everyone forgets. If your Audi has Quattro with a rear differential, that differential has its own fluid service. Audi calls it lifetime fluid. It's not. Differential fluid breaks down from heat and metal particles. After 50,000 miles, it's contaminated. After 80,000 miles, it's sludge. Run it too long and the differential bearings fail. The ring and pinion gears wear. You'll hear whining from the rear end, clunking during tight turns, and vibration at highway speed. Rebuilding a rear differential costs $2,500 to $3,500. Changing the fluid costs $200 to $300. Do it every 50,000 miles. Use 75W90 GL5 gear oil, OEM Audi fluid or Liqui Moly. On sport differentials found in S and RS models, change it every 30,000 miles. These diffs run hotter and work harder. For the center differential in longitudinal Quattro systems, same schedule. Fluid every 50,000 miles. I've rebuilt diffs on S4s and S5s with 90,000 miles. The fluid looked like black tar, metal shavings everywhere, bearings were scored, gears were pitted. Owners had no idea the diff even had fluid. Now they're out $3,000 because they skipped $250 services. If you hear any whining or grinding from the rear of the car, especially during turns, check your differential fluid immediately. Top it off if it's low and schedule a full change. Number 12. The sunroof drain maintenance that prevents interior floods. Every Audi with a sunroof has 4 drain tubes, one at each corner. These tubes route water from the sunroof tray down through the A-pillars and rocker panels, then out under the car. Over time, leaves, dirt and debris clog the drains. Water backs up and floods into the cabin. I've seen cars with 6 inches of water in the footwells, soaked carpet, ruined electronics, moldy interior. Total repair cost is $2,500 to $4,000 for carpet replacement, module drying and mold remediation. Preventing it costs nothing. Every 6 months, pour a cup of water into each sunroof drain. There's one in each corner of the sunroof tray. Open the sunroof and look in the corners. You'll see small rubber grommets. Pour water into them. If it drains quickly, you're good. If it pools or drains slowly, the tube is clogged. Use compressed air or a flexible wire to clear the blockage. Never use a rigid wire. You'll puncture the tube. Also, clean the sunroof tray itself. Remove leaves and debris before they wash into the drains. If you park under trees, do this monthly. I've pulled passenger seats on cars where the owner ignored drain maintenance. The carpet was black with mold. The blower motor was corroded. The footwell module was fried, all because a 5-minute drain check was skipped. If your car smells musty or you notice damp carpet, check the drains immediately. The longer water sits, the worse the damage. Number 13. the wheel bearing inspection that prevents accidents. Wheel bearings on Audis typically last 100,000 to 150,000 miles, but aggressive driving, potholes and curb impacts can kill them much sooner. A failed wheel bearing doesn't just make noise, it can seize, lock the wheel and cause a crash. Early symptoms are humming or grinding from one corner of the car. The noise gets louder with speed. It changes pitch in turns. If the bearing is failing on the right front, the noise gets louder turning left. That's because turning left loads the right side. Here's the test. Jack up the car and spin each wheel by hand. A good bearing spins smoothly and silently. A bad bearing feels rough and makes grinding sounds. Also, check for play. Grab the wheel at 12 and 6 o'clock and try to rock it. Any clunking or movement means the bearing is loose. Replace it immediately. Wheel bearing replacement costs $400 to $600 per corner. If the bearing seizes while driving, it can cause loss of control, especially at highway speeds. I've seen bearings disintegrate on the highway. The wheel wobbles violently. ABS and traction control lights come on. The car pulls hard to one side, absolutely terrifying for the driver. Inspect bearings every 50,000 miles. If you hit a pothole hard or curb a wheel, inspect that bearing within 1,000 miles. Impact damage accelerates bearing wear. Don't ignore the noise hoping it goes away. It won't. It'll only get worse until the bearing fails completely. Number 14. The battery replacement and coding procedure. When your battery dies, most people go to AutoZone, buy a battery, swap it, and drive off. On any Audi from 2005 forward, that's a mistake. Modern Audis have intelligent battery monitoring. The car tracks battery age, charge cycles, and capacity. It adjusts alternator output to match the battery's condition. Install a new battery without coding it to the car, and the system treats it like the old, degraded battery. It overcharges or undercharges. Your new battery dies in 18 to 24 months. You blame the battery brand. Wrong. The battery was never registered. Battery coding requires VCDS, OBD11, or dealer scan tools. You tell the car the new battery specifications. The car resets its monitoring system. Charging becomes optimized. The battery lasts its full 5 to 7 year lifespan. Dealers charge $150 to $200 for battery replacement with coding. Independent shops charge $50 to $100 for coding alone, or buy an OBD11 dongle for $70 and do it yourself. The procedure takes 2 minutes. Go to Module 19, Gateway. Select Adaptation. Enter the new battery part number and capacity. Save. Done. If you've replaced your battery without coding, do it now. Even if the battery is a year old, coding it will extend its life. I've replaced hundreds of batteries that died prematurely. 90% were never coded. Customers spent $150 on a new battery every 2 years instead of spending $50 once to code it properly. All right, let's wrap this up. These 14 maintenance secrets are the difference between an Audi that dies at 120,000 miles and one that cruises past 300,000. Most owners skip these services because dealers don't push them and independent shops don't know about them. Now you do. Here's my challenge. Pick 3 services from this list and schedule them this month. Start with the DSG fluid, the PCV valve, and the Hall Deck service if you have it. Those 3 alone will save you $10,000 in repairs over the life of your car. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe. Drop a comment with your Audi model and current mileage.